What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going over the evolution of WrestleMania. Since WrestleMania is coming up, we gotta do this video, and let's get straight onto number 1, which is WrestleMania 1. The first WrestleMania took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City and had 19,121 people in attendance. The main event was a tag match with Hulk Hogan and Mr. T against Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. The show was one of the first of its kind, so Vince McMahon was taking a huge risk. If the event wasn't successful, Vince McMahon would have been in serious debt. Next up, we have WrestleMania 2. The only WrestleMania to take place in 3 cities was WrestleMania 2. It took place in New York, Chicago, and LA, and had a combined total of 40,085 people in attendance across all 3 cities. The main event of the pay-per-view technically was a steel cage match between Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy for the WWF Championship. This was also the only WrestleMania to ever take place on a Monday. After that, we have WrestleMania 3. WrestleMania 3 was the first Mania to take place in a stadium instead of a regular arena. It took place at the Pontiac Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, and had an attendance of 93,173 people. 2 of the biggest matches from this event includes the match between Macho Man Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat for the Intercontinental Championship, and the main event, which was Hulk Hogan vs. Andre the Giant for the WWF Championship. That's also the same match which had the famous moment of Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant. Next up, we have WrestleMania 4. WrestleMania 4 took place at the Atlantic City Convention Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and there was 18,165 people in attendance for this event. A WWF Championship tournament took place at this event, with the main event being Randy Savage versus Ted DiBiase for the championship. Also, this event was said to be at the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino during the broadcast, despite being down the street from the actual venue. After that, we have WrestleMania 5. Just like WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5 took place at the Atlantic Convention Center again. However, the attendance was greater for WrestleMania 5 when 18,946 people attended the event. The marquee match for this event was the match between Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. The match was built up for over a year when they formed the Mega Powers and when tensions began building between the two. After that, we have WrestleMania 6. WrestleMania 6 was broadcasted live from the Sky Dome in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, with 67,167 people in attendance. The main event was Hulk Hogan vs. Ultimate Warrior for both the WWF and the IC Championships. This would also be the only WrestleMania where the IC title was defended in the main event. After that, we have WrestleMania 7. WrestleMania 7 was in LA, California at the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena in front of 16,158. The main event of the show was the match between Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan for the WWF Championship. The show was originally meant to be held in the LA Memorial Coliseum, which would be able to hold more than 100,000 people. WWF said that their reason for changing the venues was security concerns, since Sergeant Slaughter was portraying an Iraqi sympathizer during the wake of the Gulf War, when in reality, the event had poor advance ticket sales and the company had trouble filling 100,000 seats. Next up, we have WrestleMania 8. The 8th WrestleMania event was live at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, Indiana, and had an attendance of 62,167 people. The main event was the match between Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice. It was the first Mania where the WWF Championship did not close the show. After that, we have WrestleMania 9. WrestleMania 9, which is widely regarded as the worst WrestleMania in the company's history, took place in Paradise, Nevada, live from the Caesars Palace. The attendance for the show was 16,891 people, with the scheduled main event being Bret Hart vs. Yokozuna for the WWF Championship. However, Yokozuna would win by interference from Mr. Fiji, and then Hulk Hogan would come down to the ring and win the championship from Yokozuna in 22 seconds, and all of it just did not make any sense. Moving on to WrestleMania 10. The 10th annual WrestleMania was live from MSG in New York City, just like WrestleMania 1. The attendance for the event was 18,065 people, and the main event was a rematch from the previous year's event between Bret Hart and Yokozuna for the WWF Championship. Next up, we have WrestleMania 11. WrestleMania 11 was held in Hartford, Connecticut at the Hartford Civic Center in front of 16,305 people. The main event was a match between Bam Bam Bigelow and Lawrence Taylor. Although the match was okay, many people believe that the main event of the show should have been the WWF Championship match between Diesel and Shawn Michaels. After that, we have WrestleMania 12. WrestleMania 12 was live from the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California, with an attendance of 18,034 people. The main event of the show was a 60-minute Iron Man match for the WWF Championship. That match would end after 1 hour, 1 minute, and 52 seconds in overtime when Shawn Michaels defeated Bret Hart 1-0. The next WrestleMania is 13. The 13th WrestleMania was broadcasted live from Rosemont, Illinois at the Rosemont Horizon with 18,197 people in attendance. The main event was a no DQ match between Psycho Sid and The Undertaker for the WWF Championship, but the real match that stole the show was Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin in a no DQ match where we saw the famous double turn. After that, we have WrestleMania 14. WrestleMania 14 had 19,028 fans packed into the Fleet Center in Boston, Massachusetts. The main event was a match between Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin for the WWF Championship. This match would also mark the beginning of the Attitude Era, as well as Stone Cold's first ever WWF Championship reign. After that, we have WrestleMania 15. 20,276 WWE fans were in attendance for WrestleMania 15 live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The main event was The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin for the WWF Championship. This would be the first of the 3 encounters these two had at WrestleMania. After that, we have WrestleMania 2000. WrestleMania 2000, aka WrestleMania 16, would be held in the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California, and had an attendance of 18,034 people. The main event would be a fatal 4-way between Triple H, The Rock, Big Show, and Mick Foley for the WWF Championship with the McMahon in every corner. Something weird about this pay-per-view was that there was only one singles match out of 9 matches on the entire card. Next up, we have WrestleMania 17, or X7 as they called it. This is highly regarded as the greatest WrestleMania of all time and most likely the greatest pay-per-view in history. WrestleMania X7 was held in the Reliant Astrodome in Houston, Texas, with 67,925 people in attendance. The main event would be the second of 3 matches between The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin for the WWF Championship. This match would end with Austin turning heel and joining forces with Vince McMahon, something that WWF fans would have never expected. After that, we have WrestleMania X8, aka 18. 68,237 people were in attendance for WrestleMania X8 at the Sky Dome in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The main event of the night was the match between Chris Jericho and Triple H for the WWF Undisputed Championship. However, many people believe that the match of the night was the Icon vs. Icon match between Hulk Hogan and The Rock. Next up, we have WrestleMania 19. WrestleMania 19 had an attendance of 54,097 people at the Safeco Field in Seattle, Washington. This was the first WrestleMania after the company was forced to change their name from WWF to WWE. The main event was a classic between Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. After that, we have WrestleMania 20. WrestleMania 20 was live from the same arena it was at the first WrestleMania and at WrestleMania 10, which was MSG in New York City, with an attendance of straight up 18,000 people. The main event was a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship between Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Chris Benoit. It ended with Benoit and Eddie Guerrero holding up their respective titles, creating one of the most emotional moments in WWE history. After that, we have WrestleMania 21. Live from the Staples Center in LA, California, WrestleMania 21 had an attendance of 20,193 people. The main event of the show was the match between Triple H and Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. This is the same night we saw Batista and John Cena, 2 future stars, become world champions. Next up, we have WrestleMania 22. WrestleMania 22 was the last WrestleMania to be held in an arena instead of a stadium being held at the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois. The event drew an attendance of 17,159 people. The main event of the evening would be John Cena versus Triple H for the WWE Championship. After that, we have WrestleMania 23. WrestleMania 23 was held at the Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. The event had an attendance of 80,103 people. The main event was supposed to be a rematch from the previous year's Mania between Triple H and John Cena, but due to an injury, Triple H was not able to compete at this WrestleMania, and the main event would actually be a match between John Cena and Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship. This event would also be the WWE pay-per-view with the highest buy rate for 5 years with 1.2 million pay-per-view buys. Next up, we have WrestleMania 24. The 24th WrestleMania was broadcasted live from the Orlando Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida, in front of 74,635 people. The show closed with a match between Edge and The Undertaker for the World Heavyweight Championship. This show also featured other awesome matches like the triple threat between John Cena, Randy Orton, and Triple H for the WWE Championship, and Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair in a career-threatening match. Next up, we have WrestleMania 25. The 25th anniversary of WrestleMania had a total of 72,744 WWE fans in attendance for the Reliance Stadium in Houston, Texas. This show featured awesome moments including the double attitude adjustment in the Triple Threat World Title match, and a match between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker that stole the show. The show closed with a match between Triple H and Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. After that, we have WrestleMania 26. WrestleMania 26 was broadcasted in Glendale, Arizona at the University of Phoenix Stadium with an attendance of 72,219 people. The show would close with a rematch from the previous year between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker in a no DQ match where it was Shawn Michaels' career against The Undertaker's undefeated streak. Some can even argue that this is the greatest match in wrestling history. Next up, we have WrestleMania 27. WrestleMania 27 was held at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, Georgia. The event drew an attendance of 71,617 people. Many say that the best match on the card was Undertaker versus Triple H, but the main event was The Miz versus John Cena for the WWE Championship, which was used to build up the main event for the following year's WrestleMania. After that, we have WrestleMania 28. WrestleMania 28 live from Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida, had 78,363 fans in attendance and had a buy rate of 1,217,000 pay-per-view buys, making it the most bought pay-per-view in WWE history. Some awesome matches include the end of the era Hell in a Cell match between Undertaker and Triple H, the WWE Championship between Chris Jericho and CM Punk, and the main event, which was The Rock versus John Cena in a once-in-a-lifetime match. Next up, we have WrestleMania 29. WrestleMania 29 drew an attendance of 80,676 people live at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The match of the night was a match between CM Punk and The Undertaker, but the main event was a rematch from the previous WrestleMania between John Cena and The Rock, this time for the WWE Championship. After that, we have WrestleMania 30. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans was the venue for the 30th annual WrestleMania. This show had unforgettable moments like Daniel Bryan overcoming the odds by winning two matches. The first one against Triple H, and the second one in the main event, which was a triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, as well as Brock Lesnar being the first person to defeat the streak at WrestleMania, ending Undertaker's streak, making it 21-1. Second to last, we have WrestleMania 31. 76,976 people were in attendance for WrestleMania 31 live from the Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Some great matches from this pay-per-view include the match between Triple H and Sting, this segment with The Authority and Ronda Rousey, and Seth Rollins cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase during the main event match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns and winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And finally, we have WrestleMania 32. WrestleMania 32 was held at the AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, and drew the biggest audience in WrestleMania history. WWE claims that the attendance figure was 101,763, but it is believed that the actual number was around 97,000. The main event of the show was a match between Triple H and Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And that is it for the video, guys. As always, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to become a part of the Pllana Nation. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Pllana, and I'll see you all later.